Hi everyone, Sandman here. This video is brought to you by a donation from Art Bar Creations. He didn't have a topic, but he wanted me to promote this particular art piece, and here's what he has to say. Hi everyone, show the world that you roam above it freely, going down your own path as a warrior by printing this awesome roaming freedom art piece. Simply click on the paypal.me/artbarcreations link in the description, pay $1, and it'll be emailed to you, unquote. So if you guys want this digital print, just click on the PayPal link in the description. It's the first one down below. Thanks Artbar for sponsoring this video, and now on with the show. Today I'd like to cover a story that happened a while back but is relevant to men going their own way. If you follow the second link in the description, it takes you to a video by Tim Pool, one of my favorite YouTube journalists, and he's asking the question about why men are refusing to help women and children in our society. His video idea was sparked by an article by Tamara Sincic, a fashion chief executive that was left to fend for herself against an unwell 6-foot-tall man while apparently two middle-aged white men got up during the altercation and left by walking into the next carriage. There's even a contact email attached to the story in case you saw it and you want to shame these two men publicly for not helping Tamara. Do your part and get them fired from their jobs and thrown out by their wives because it's the right thing to do, because they didn't help a woman. This is the equivalent of the white feather girls of cowardice during the First World War, that would go up to young able-bodied men in the streets and pin a white feather of cowardice on their chests. These women didn't care if those men were working on some vital industry like steel production for weapons or for the government. Men that weren't willing to give up their lives were to be shamed, even if those men were farmers and their wives didn't give them permission to leave. Because back then, a woman actually had to sign off for her husband to go to war if he was a farmer. Because as you know, soldiers need food and stuff, and if you're growing food, you're already supporting the troops. But that doesn't matter because you're not willing to sacrifice your life like a disposable utility, and you have to be humiliated for it. So now 100 years later, we're back there again. Except we aren't in a conflict with Germany, but instead, we are in a gender dispute. The article says that Tamara blames two white middle-class men because as if those were the only two people on the train with her. Here's what she has to say, and I quote, "I remain more angry with those two white middle-class men who left me to it. As fathers, husbands, and sons, they should be ashamed of themselves." Ms. Sinek praised those who actually came to her aid as angels, saying an Eastern European man who had seen the guy on the platform had worked his way down the train as he felt the man was dangerous, and he got to me when the train stopped. She said her message to those who left her was, "You are cowards with less empathy and strength than two size 8 women and a Greek female prisoner. Shame on you," unquote. So there you have it, folks. You can clearly see that she's trying to shame those men. I don't know what's more insulting, her attempts to shame those guys or the fact that she doesn't think that men from Eastern European descent are white. Last time I checked, Polish people and Russians were white. Maybe the person trying to hurt her also ruffled up her eyesight. But Tamara doesn't blame the 6-foot-tall Asian man that tried to hurt her, because she believes that he needed medical help. So therefore, he's the victim. She says that the other people on the train, other women and children, were crying. But why didn't any of them come to Tamara's aid? We keep hearing so much about women not needing a man anymore, and here we have a situation where not a single woman came to the aid of her sister, when the going got tough. Plus, a white man did actually come and rescue her, but he doesn't count because apparently he's from Eastern Europe. This is more of a case of women wanting to be rescued by the wealthiest and most attractive men, instead of just some Eastern European bum. We also don't hear what part of Asia the man doing the evil deed was from. Asia technically stretches all the way from Turkey and the Middle East to Japan, but something tells me that he probably wasn't from China or Japan. I wonder if he was even in the country legally. If not, he's a victim of immigration laws that didn't let him in, so he probably had to sneak across the border. Poor him. Tamara even got the British Transport Police involved, and they will be reviewing the CCTV to shame the middle-class white men, to figure out what really happened. Below the article, one person posted in the comments that given how many people carry concealed weapons in the city, it's understandable that those men didn't actually want to help her. What if those supposed cowards had sick mothers to look after and small children to support? Don't their lives matter too? There are also women in the comment section calling men pathetic for not helping. One guy in the comments section was from Glasgow and he said that he once saw two women fighting and he tried to stop them, and a bunch of guys jumped in and went after him. One of the women said that he tried to hurt her, but luckily for him, it didn't go any further. Another question I have for Tamara is, how did she actually know that these guys were middle class? Did they have a sign on their chest saying median salary income? She also assumed their gender. How do we know that they were men and not transgendered? Tim Pool also mentions an article about a Good Samaritan jailed for 6 years for protecting a young woman on the streets. He goes on to mention that the man he was protecting her from actually passed away from his injuries that he inflicted on that guy, and it was pretty brutal. But the truth is that many people just read the headlines and they don't dig any deeper into things. So when people read 6 years in prison for trying to help a woman, many men would rather choose not to. So what's the point of tomorrow's exercise and story in the Daily Mail? What are they going to do? Create some sort of new law that actually forces men to help women if they're being threatened? We all know that the law can't prosecute you for not breaking the law. You have to do something first. If you do nothing based on your own best interests, you could argue that you actually thought someone else was going to help the poor woman, or that you read the story about the guy that was jailed for 6 years and you didn't want to end up like him. But it doesn't matter in the court of public opinion, where all it takes is the accusation by a woman to destroy your life. You don't even have to do anything except avoid helping a woman. What are guys supposed to do on the subway? Walk with blind man's canes and put on a pair of sunglasses? Maybe get a seeing eye dog to make yourself appear to be the victim of blindness, so you actually don't get accused of staring at a woman for longer than 15 seconds, and making her feel uncomfortable because you're creepy. And there's a new law against that in the UK and Nottinghamshire. MGTOW also means that less men are willing to help women because we know that there's the possibility of false allegations. As more men go their own way and see the dark side of female nature, they will become increasingly indifferent to women's cries for help. Women can try and shame us all they want, but to be honest, an incident like the one I actually mentioned with Tamara is incredibly rare. If you do end up watching that Tim Pool video, he discusses how men are even becoming afraid to help lost children find their parents. One man helped the kid find his parents and the father beat the guy up thinking that he had abducted him. What's the point of being a good trusting citizen and helping others if it's just going to backfire in your face? A mother didn't keep track of her own child and the kid was lost, so any man that helps her find that kid has to be made an example of, because the kid being lost couldn't possibly be the mother's fault, now could it? I remember as a kid I would get lost but not actually wander off. My mother would tell me to stay in one place and I was a good kid and I stayed put. She went shopping and after an hour, she wasn't anywhere to be seen. So I went to the department store manager to get some help. The manager put on a message on a loudspeaker so my mother would hear it, but she didn't and I waited another 15 to 20 minutes and the manager actually had to go into the mall loudspeaker, and after 10 minutes my mother finally came stomping back into the store. She asked me where I was and said that she was looking for me everywhere. Meanwhile, I told her I was in the exact place that she wanted me to stay in. That's when she told me that I shouldn't have actually left her side. She couldn't take responsibility for the situation, it seems. I felt like I had done something wrong even though I actually did something right. But just imagine if a kid today tries to get help and the male staff doesn't actually want to help you. What if you get lost somewhere and no one wants to help you either? That's when things get dangerous because that's when the real predators see vulnerable children and they strike. At this point, there's no way to change the culture of men refusing to help women. Women believe if they shame men into helping them, then it'll actually work. But what women don't seem to realize is that if you make it dangerous to not help a woman in trouble, men will entirely avoid women, or at the very least make sure that there are other guys closer to that woman, so if something happens to her and no one helps, she's more likely to blame the men that were in the closest proximity. If you're 10 seats down and there are 5 guys closer to her, then you will be forgotten in the shuffle. Men will walk on the opposite side of the street when they see a woman on theirs. They will look at their phones or put on their earbuds listening to music and looking at their phones so that if something happens, they have plausible deniability. That's what I would do if I was riding on the subway or taking the tube every day. If something happens to a woman and you're distracted by your phone signaling you out as a bad guy, doesn't work so easily. Once again, it's about maintaining plausible deniability. But if you see something happening to a woman, you make eye contact for a few seconds and then bolt for the door, she's going to remember that. Like the case I just described, and she's going to be upset that you didn't deal with the crazy person, and protect her instead of thinking selfishly about your own safety and running off. In this new digital age, if you're branded a coward, it can follow you around for years, or even the rest of your life. I just want to change the subject briefly before ending this video. Lately on Tinder, I don't even send women messages after a match, and I'm increasingly getting messaged first. I'd say about 50% of the time. That's telling me that things are getting desperate out there, but it's just not being talked about yet in the manosphere. In the past, I actually had to put the effort in to contact women once a match was made, and now they're coming to me. I guess that not only are more men refusing to help women, but we're refusing to approach them and talk to them as well. It's not just that men refuse to talk and entertain women anymore, but it's getting to the point where we actually don't want to help them or be in a relationship with them either. We're rapidly turning into the herbivore nation, and men are increasingly looking after their own interests and ignoring women, and therefore by default refusing to help them. It's also about easy access to women. I know there'll be another one contacting me later today or tomorrow, so why bother contacting her? The artificial scarcity of women is gone, and the dating dynamics are coming undone. Women want to be increasingly independent, and now that's their choice. But what does that tell you when men in our society are distancing themselves from women, and women still aren't taking responsibility for it? They will blame men even when it's actually their own fault. That always happens and always continues to happen. The only way to get around that is to ghost and be invisible to their cries for help. Anyways, that's all I've got to say for today. Thanks again Artbar Creations for sponsoring this video. Once again, if you want to get his roaming art piece, the link is in the description. Don't forget to smash the like button the way that women want to smash middle-aged white men with shame for not helping them in their time of need. Bang the bell and check out the MGTOW mystery link. Follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook to get tomorrow's video today. Subscribe to me on minds.com or gab.ai to get the video for the day after tomorrow. Thanks for taking your daily dose of red pills, and remember, a red pill a day keeps the security cam shaming away. So enjoy the rest of your day, and cheers.